Hello, my name is Simon Gervin, and with my Agile coach colleague Richard, we're talking at Agile Manchester on the subject of launching Agile projects. It's a 90-minute workshop, and we're going to cover two things that we use quite a lot and find very valuable, and want to share with you why they work for us and how they can work for you. Those two things are Inception Deck and Liftoff with Agile Chartering. The original ideas came from these two books, so we want to give some credit to the authors there, but there are some extra bits that we've added in. Starting with the Inception Deck, this is about what you do before you start a project. There's a whole set of things you need to know that you might not know necessarily when you're asked to start looking at something, and this is about trying to get enough detail up front so you can build the right team and get them aligned properly in what they need to do. It's got three elements to it: a set of things around the context and the vision and the why are we here, a set of things around what sort of thing has the customer in mind, or what sort of thing do you think will meet the customer's needs, and a set of things around what might you expect as the project continues. It's called an Inception Deck because each idea, each artifact, and there's only 13 of them, is a single page on a PowerPoint or a Keynote deck. So this is about really simple things that get the team thinking and get them talking and allow a really clear communication with the stakeholder. That's a really important part. If you set off on a project, even slightly misaligned with what your stakeholder thinks you're doing, you're only going to get more misaligned. Starting off in proper lockstep and sharing with your customer and your stakeholders, this is what we intend to do, this is our understanding of the project, and this is what we think matters, that's really important. This is a really good way to do that. There's a whole set of artifacts around them, things like elevator pitch, things like the product box, and a set of models and lists. The not box, which is a way of describing, let's describe at the beginning what we are not going to do, what is not in scope. That's a bit different from describing what is in scope. It exercises different parts of your brain, but it's also being very clear, especially with first versions of things or MVPs. Let's be clear on what's not included, because if that's not right, the customer can tell you straight away instead of waiting until you've not done it later. There's also some extra things in here that aren't in the book. So the Wheel of Pain is a model that I've developed, which is around looking at the environment your team is in and your organization is in, and deciding, is this going to make it easier or harder for me and my team to be working in an agile way? If it's going to make it harder, do I do something about it? And that can be things like the organizational culture, it can be things like regulatory constraints, it can be things like geographic distribution of teams, or it can be things as simple as, have my team worked together before and do they know agile? There's also things on here that are setting out your ideas as to what the solution might be. This is all really rough stuff. It's just about, what do I think this is all about? Because don't forget, this is before we start the project. And then the final set of things are around, how do we think we're going to work? Is it going to be Kanban or Scrum? And what size do we think the project is going to be? How much do we think it might cost? And how do we know we'll have succeeded? What's the final test that says we're done? So the Inception Deck is all about helping the stakeholders understand that you understand what is required to deliver their business value. Once you've done that, then you can get your team together and you can head off and start the work. But before you do that, a really good thing is to have a lift-off workshop and understand properly a whole set of things around what the work is, why it's being done, who the team are, what they're bringing to it, and what other requirements they're going to have, what other external factors do they need to draw upon to make sure they succeed. So Liftoff is in three parts. The first part is planning. You've got to decide what you want these workshops to achieve for you. Little things like, where is it going to be? Is it going to be off-site or on-site? How long is it going to be? One day, several afternoons? And who's going to be involved? All those sorts of things. The second thing is then the pre-work. Now the good news here, you've done some of that with your Inception Deck. Like any model, we know the Inception Deck is going to be wrong. Where the value is in the conversations and in the discussions you have around that. So it's a set of inputs into the pre-work. The pre-work itself is a set of inputs into the workshop. The key thing here, the people that are generating those insights and those inputs are your key strategic decision makers. They're the people that you want to get out of their heads what they think your project is for, what the business impact is going to be, and where it fits into the strategy. That's really important for the team, because if you don't understand the business strategy as you proceed, you're going to become misaligned and you might be building the wrong thing. Then there's the workshops, and they involve the whole team, as much of the team as possible. And if you can't get the whole team together, you're going to have some compromises, so please try and get them all together. And again, it's got a set of artifacts and set of things that generate, not that dissimilar to the stuff we have put together in the Inception Deck. And the workshop, it's in 3 parts too. The senior sponsor, this is a really important part. They've got to come along and they've got to really help the team understand why this matters to them. If you can't find one, or they don't want to come, that tells you quite a lot about how important your project is. In your planning, you'll have thought about any extra things you want to do, not just Agile Chartering, but additional exercises. Maybe there's some team building, some training, company briefs, that sort of thing. But the main body of work is the Agile Chartering. It's in 3 parts too. The purpose, alignment, and the context. The purpose is all about the business, alignment all about the team, context all about other parts of the business. The purpose then, really important to understand not just what the vision is and how this fits into the company's corporate strategy, but what specifically is this team going to do to deliver that vision. Once you know that, you need to know how they're going to test they've done it. Alignment, all about the team. How do they work? What's their preferences? Agreeing the working agreement, a really good way to understand how people work best. Do they work well in silence, like pair programming, all those sorts of things. And setting out your team rules, what matters to you as a team. That might align with your corporate values, and it might be about specialising them a little bit. And in the context, it's all about all the extra things a team's going to need. Stuff like maybe licenses, infrastructure, accommodation, all those sorts of things. And with that, what you end up with is a team starting the work, really clear on why they're doing it, why it matters, and what their contribution is, really clear on each other, what they bring to the team, their strengths and weaknesses, and who you can rely on for what, and really clear on what else they're going to require to be successful. Those 3 things are a really good place to start your work from. We'll be at Agile Manchester. We've got a 90-minute workshop covering all this stuff, a lot of detail, things to take away, models to share, and we really hope you'd be able to join us. Thank you.